Hi everyone, this is one of the first topics that we come across when talking about advanced performance management. Today we'll be looking at strategic planning and control, and we'll be studying some key concepts relating to performance which can help you move ahead with regards to this course curriculum. So, one of the major key concepts is performance. What is performance? It is a task or an operation seen in terms of how successfully it is performed. And performance management concerns with the management of an organization to ensure that it meets its objectives. So these are the two differences between performance and performance management. Performance management, if I have to explain in simple terms, is basically how an organization is doing and how well it is managing its performance. Are they able to identify the loopholes? Are they able to identify the gaps in their performance or not? And this is something that senior management directly looks at. They look into the fact that if the organization is managing its performance or not. So first, how they look at it through strategic planning and strategic control. The strategic planning includes decisions such as which products to produce, which markets to be in, how to grow, the impact of environmental damage, all these things, the decisions which are key to the growth and success of the business fall under the category of strategic planning. Then there's strategic control. It is about monitoring the achievement of objectives and suggesting corrective actions. So once you have decided, once you have planned, okay, this is what we want to do, then you implement some controls to make sure that what you have planned is being achieved. So it ensures the organization is on track to meet its long-term strategic objectives. Further planning and control is bifurcated into three managerial levels. First is the strategic management, then it's tactical and operational management. The strategic management involves setting goals and objectives for the organization over the long term. So, for example, they will be saying that, okay, we need to decide which products to produce or like which markets to capture, or some investment decisions should be merge with a supplier, which should be acquire one of our distributors. All such decisions are a form of the strategic management process. Based on these planning activities, they implement strategic control measures. So profits by business segments, once they decide, okay, fine, we'll be introducing three new products into the market, then they'll also decide to measure profits by business segments to see which are the most profitable markets. That's how decisions at the strategic level are made. Coming to tactical management, it is something that falls under the umbrella of mid to senior management level. They ensure that resources are obtained and used effectively and efficiently in accomplishing the objectives of the organization. So, what are the tactical planning activities? Implementing strategic decisions often over uh, a long-term plan, preparation of annual budgets and comparison of actual results in budgets on monthly basis, recruitment of staff, shorter time period of planning, typically 1 year, use of both internal and external information. So all these things fall under the umbrella of mid to senior managers. They take these decisions which keep the business running. What are the control analysis of sales by product, customer, geographical location? They make sure that every business segment is performing well so that there's no loss making segment. They also monitor the inventory level and cash flow projections. Operational management, they ensure that day-to-day tasks are carried out. These are like floor managers or like, team leaders. These are the ones who are making the operational decisions. Routine planning, it includes routine planning, program decisions, inventory when inventory levels fall to reorder levels based on internal transaction, based on information. Operational control measures include variances, receivable payable levels, payroll details, customer complaints, and output records. These are the activities that are crucial for running the business and running the day-to-day activities of the business. I'm just trying to erase this so that nobody has trouble looking at this. Okay. So in case you have any questions with regards to any of the things that are mentioned in the slide, please free to comment, and as soon as I see the comment, I will definitely get back. Okay, so now we'll talk about some of the models that are used in performance management to evaluate and assess performance of an organization. These are the models that you need to know what they are and what they are trying to evaluate. However, learning these models is not important. You should just know what these models are about. So firstly, there's SWOT analysis. We all have been studying SWOT analysis since a very long time. It speaks about strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities. So strengths are the things it does well or things it has that others don't. So for example, a business's strength could be its unique selling proposition. For example, they might be making this crazy software which others cannot. So that is their strength. Weaknesses, thing it does badly or things it lacks. Opportunity, events or changes that it can be exploited to take advantage. So for example, if there is a particular region in a particular country where taxes are low, you can maybe set up your factory over there to gain that tax benefit. So this is an opportunity which organizations must identify to capitalize on. Threats are events or changes that should be defended against. So if there is a threat of new entrant into the market, then organizations need to identify that threat and devise their strategy accordingly. So in from an exam perspective, you won't be asked to do a SWOT analysis. Maybe there is a SWOT analysis already done for you and you need to evaluate, all right, that this is if this is actually a strength or not, or if this is actually a weakness or not, or what other strengths or opportunities this organization has. Then there's Porter's five forces model. This is used for appraisal of business performance, basically to evaluate a business's performance. So it focuses on the competitive nature of an industry or a sector, which players in the value chain, suppliers or customers, are in better position. The strength of the forces influences the profit potential of the industry. The stronger the force, the lower the profit potential. The model should be used at the level of strategic business unit rather than the organization as a whole. So for example, if there's an organization that has different segments, for example a product segment or finance, then this is when this is where the model should be used, not on the organization as whole. So number one, there is threat of new entrants into the market. So how, if the threat is high, then the profit potential is low, because as more entrants enter into the market, it turns into a perfect competition where you can't charge higher prices. And how do you determine if the threat is low or not? You determine it through capital requirement, the number of available substitutes, distributor networks. All these things help in determining if the threat is high or low. Bargaining power of buyers. When bargaining power of buyers is high, then the profit potential is low, because then customers can get what they want because their bargaining power is high. Similarly, if the bargaining power of suppliers is high, if there are a few number of suppliers and a large number of buyers, then their power will be high and your profit potential will be low. You will have to buy at the price they are selling because you can't negotiate, because there are already a few number of suppliers. Threat of substitutes, obviously the more the substitutes available, the less barber you will have. And competitive rivalry, the more the competition, the lower will be the profit potential. And if we turn the tables, like for example, if the threat of new entrants is low, bargaining power of buyers or suppliers is low, then the profit potential is high. That's how the entire model works. And if you want details into threat of new entrants or bargaining power of suppliers or what the factors that influence it, you can feel free to drop a comment and I'll share the notes. Models for performance management. Now, this is a very important model and this gets tested in the exam also regularly. So you need to know what the PEST model contains. Firstly, it contains political factors, it contains economic environment, it contains social factors and technological factors. So you will be given a scenario where you have to assess if what are the political factors that can influence a business performance, or what are the economic factors that can influence a business performance. So political factors are usually of three types. Amount of government control, like how the government influences the business, are the policies business friendly or not. Political stability, if the government is constantly changing, then there will always be uncertainty about the prices, the demand, the interest rate policies and everything. and they can also be chaos. Like for example, in third world countries, when the government is changing, there are a lot of protests. So all these things obviously do affect businesses. And thirdly, the attitude of government towards businesses. So how friendly government is towards businesses. In some places, government actually want MNCs to set up in their country, and they offer favorable tax policies or favorable loans to help them set up. So this is also something that is very important. Economic environment again contains of three things: interest rate, inflation, uh, reducing aggregate demand, and cost of increasing finances. So if the interest rates are low, then people will be encouraged to buy, which is favorable for the business. On vice versa, if interest rates are high, then more people will be inclined to save, so that businesses, they won't be spending, so that's not a good business opportunity, right? Similarly, social factors, demographic changes, changes in ideals of society. Are people moving towards more luxurious products? Have their living standards increased? Have their living standards decreased? Are they looking for cheap alternates? Changes in population growth rates and life expectancy. How to produce goods with minimal environmental damage. Levels of education and consumerism. So all these factors are social factors, and when setting up a business, you need to consider all these factors, so that because all these factors will eventually have an impact on the performance of the business. Not technological factors including great automation, communication method, big data, internet. Is the country where you're trying to set up your business has that infrastructure where you can support big data, where you can integrate software solutions? Is there skilled labor available in that region? So all these questions fall under the category of technological factors. Moving forward, then we also have Boston Consulting Matrix. You must have studied this in PM or any of your marketing courses. This model helps assess existing products and services in terms of their market development potential and potential to generate profit. It is particularly useful to those organizations which operate in a number of different markets. So, for example, if you have a business, so let me just highlight, because uh, this model is relevant for businesses that are operating in different markets. So if you have a business that is expanded overseas, then you must use this model to identify how your business is doing. And these are the four ways how you can check. So for example, if the market growth is high, if you are located in B land, let's assume, and if the market growth rate is high and your market share is also high, then your product is called a star. It means that you must invest more resources into this product. Then if the market share is high but the market growth is low, it's a cash cow. You need to keep investing resources into it so that it can grow at the same pace. The market can also grow at the same pace. But some people also say that it's a mature product and you must start invest in resources to divest. um, on the other hand, if market growth is high and your market share is lower, then it means it's a question mark. It means there's a lot of potential for you to grow your market share because the market growth is high. And dogs are the products that are loss making products, and it shows that you must divest your resources from these products. So once you identify which sort of product it is, then you have to implement the relevant strategy. Okay, fine, this is a star product, this is my cash cow, this is a dog, I need to shift my resources. So it's important that you're able to identify that what sort of a product it is, and we will be doing a lot of questions where we will be checking and will be assessing these products. So I'm sure everybody is going to get a better idea of it. Porter's generic strategies. Porter identified two generic strategies for strategic business unit SBU to create competitive landscape in a market. Cost leadership is being the lowest cost producer. So here you have to play on economies of scale. You have to have a large sort of setup where you can capitalize on economies of scale and become a cost and have cost leadership, so that you add some barriers to entry and then nobody else can produce at the same cost as you. Differentiation is making a product perceived to be unique and different from competitors. So there has to be a product which only you can make and nobody else can. So that's your differentiation strategy, and that will help you achieve profitability. So Porter's generic strategies believe there are only two ways. Either you have to be a cost leader, or either you have to make differentiated products. Okay, so competitive scope is also a concept of Porter's generic strategies. It believes that organizations that select a broad scope to apply the generic strategy would offer goods and services across a wide range of markets to many different customer segments. This would lead to potential economies of scale as well as widespread brand recognition. So that's what they want you to know, that how a competitive scope can help in achieving economies of scale and brand recognition. So these are all the models. I believe these are almost 5 models that we covered for performance management. If you feel that I've missed out on any model, then please feel free to reach out and I shall upload a separate video for that model. But as far as I know and as far as I've studied, these are the models. However, I'll reiterate that you don't need to learn these models, you just need to understand what these models are trying and the concept of these models. Thank you. Please don't forget to subscribe and let me know which other topics you want me to share.